heard that one. Is that a new?
It's on the CD.
Then I know I've heard it.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, welcome. Welcome to you in Sanctuary here, and you in Facebook land, and you who will be later in YouTube land. We welcome you all. And here we are, smack dab in the middle of the season of light, the month that we really celebrate that. And it's not just us, but the whole world. Because it's not like there's an archetype about this, of which there certainly is. In fact, there are many. But it's that we are in this place of moving from dark to light, dark to light. And we metaphorically do this in our own lives as well. You know, Christmas is about the birth of light and the bringing of light. And then we move into Kwanzaa, which begins on December 26th. And that will be celebrated by many people of African descent up until January 1st. And if you don't know anything about Kwanzaa, it's really so interesting, and it's really a celebration about light as well. For 7 nights, 7 candles are lit, each one a symbol of Kwanzaa's 7 principles: unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. Now, I am all in with that. In fact, the word Kwanzaa is derived from the phrase Matunda de Kwanzaa, which means first fruit in Swahili. Lighting one's awareness of the 7 principles first before entering into the new year is a conscious commitment to live according to the light and guidance and wisdom offered by those principles. A time when one commits to live and continue to live by those principles. We're also approaching the winter solstice, and that's a celebration of the return of light. Going from those days where it kept getting shorter and shorter and the light just seems to be going, gone. And yet at solstice, it's coming back. And a couple of Sundays ago, we honored the Jewish tradition of Hanukkah by lighting the menorah. Now, Hanukkah, our first celebration of light, is really ripe with meaning. The story is that the Maccabees didn't have enough oil. And oil in ancient times, and in those times of what we consider to be BCE, before the Common Era, was everything to the people. It meant life. It meant survival. Oil was used in cooking, medicine, heat, and literally to be able to see. And more significantly to us today, oil was used for the ritual of anointing. Anointing. So when someone or something has been anointed, it means that the thought of love, the intention of love, the energy of love, the knowing of love has been poured over the person or thing, making it holy or a perfect whole. It's transformative. The legend of John the Baptist, in that legend, he anointed Jesus, and that it was that ritual action of love that raised Jesus to the level of the Christ. Now, I'm sure all of you know, or if you don't, you will now, Christ was not Jesus' last name. In fact, he would have been called Jesus ben Joseph, Jesus, son of Joseph. The Christ label or title means the divine presence and the infinite life within the human. The divine presence, the infinite life within every one of us. We each have that Christ presence, that holy, that anointed, alive, awake, perfect beingness. Christ abides in each person as his or her innate wholeness and perfection. Jesus the Christ represents the physical embodiment of all divine ideas. And that's actually from Charles Fillmore, who was the founder of Unity. And his teaching was that we are here to live out these ideas, these metaphysical ideas, these perfect ideas, these wondrous ideas, this expression of God. And when we look at the books of the Bible, when we look at those stories, they're all about us. So we choose to look at them not in a literal sense, but we look at them in a metaphysical sense, because every person in the Bible represents us. Every person represents some nature that we have, some nature, some quality of being. In my opinion, it's the greatest psychological textbook ever written. And it's really fascinating to see and to learn that everything about it is about you and me, and about what we go through in life, and what we experience, and how we transform our lives and move from the idea of darkness to light. So you and I, we each have the capacity. We have the capacity to bring the same divine anointment of love into everything in our daily lives. So in A Course in Miracles, one of the fundamental principles is that in any encounter, if we perceive or feel that love is missing, it's because we did not bring it. We did not bring it. I've thought about that idea a lot lately because it lines up with my commitment to take full responsibility for my thoughts and my words. And in Science of Mind, we teach that we are responsible for the thoughts that we think, and that those thoughts produce in kind. So it's incumbent on us then to be aware of what we're thinking, how we're thinking, and how we're judging ourselves and judging other people, and looking at and noticing that in any experience at any point, are we bringing love to it? Or are we thinking that there isn't love there? What are we thinking? That a situation is lacking. A Course in Miracles, once again, teaches us it's because we have not brought it. We can't outsource it. We can't outsource it and leave it to somebody else to do that work. It's an area of growth that we must own. And so to the degree that we are willing, and notice I use the word willing to be loving in any encounter or experience, that same love returns to us multiplied and overflowing. Even in those situations that you don't like, in those situations that you really, really don't like, especially those situations. Anytime that you find yourself feeling anxious or angry, unhappy, or ticked off, if you're not bringing the love, well, the thing is, it's your responsibility to bring it. And I don't mean that fake, spiritual bypass kind of love. I mean, we all have those friends, right? They walk around and they're very, well, they do a lot of om. That's what I call the me. And it's very often not real, you know? Sometimes it's just fake or faux. I call it the foam me. But the love that we're talking about here is the kind of love, the real love, that's open, it's vulnerable, And it makes us available to be present to someone else's pain, to their joy, to their success, their fear, their delight, to their journey. It's called authentic presence. That's the light. That's the truth. That's who we are here to be on earth. When we commit to be willing to reveal our divine anointed nature, that Christ that we already are, there's an opening that occurs. That willingness creates an opening. So Leonard Cohen, one of my favorite composers, and by the way also Rumi, the 13th century poet, said the same thing, that the crack is how the light gets in. And for you and me, that crack or that broken place is our willingness. It's our willingness to take full responsibility for the thoughts we bring, for the energy we bring, for the opinions we bring, for the beliefs we bring, for the love or the lack of love that we bring. So here's the million-dollar question for us. Are we willing to be wrong about our judgments and decisions about who we were, who we are, in order to reveal the truth and light of who we actually are? Let me ask that again. Are we willing to be wrong about who we thought we have been, who we have believed to have been, in order to reveal the truth and light of who we actually are? And then that brings up another question. Are we willing to be wrong about the decisions and judgments about others in order to reveal the truth of light and the light of who, you guessed it, again, of who we are? Because our judgments and our opinions about other people tell us all about us. It says nothing about them. Some of you may remember many years ago, Terry Cole Whitaker wrote this book, What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. And I think, in my opinion, that's about the healthiest book in the world, because it's talking about me not being concerned that one of you might be looking at me going, when is that broad going to ever cut her hair? Or, her pants really don't match her shoes. Or, did she have time to floss last night? Who knows? Who knows? It's none of my business what you're thinking about it. And by the way, it's none of your business what I might be thinking about you. Because the only thing that matters, the only thing is that anointed knowing of who you are, that you are already the divine in consciousness. Ernest Holmes wrote, we can be certain that there is an intelligence in the universe to which we may come that will guide and inspire us, a love which overshadows all. God is real to the one who believes in the Supreme Spirit, real to the soul that senses its unity with the whole. So if you and I are really to live an enlightened life, we must first seek to dissolve all that stuff that has created those pockets of darkness. The darkness is really in our own thinking. And for many of us, the big pockets of darkness are found in our limited and our fear-based judgments about what's possible, because we don't believe that we are possible. See, if your perspective has largely been fashioned by opinions, or by blame, and by shame, then rest assured that your life is being created. Even in this moment, if you haven't really questioned what's going on in your thinking, your life is being created within a context of opinions, blame, and shame. And all of them are about the past. They're about what's already happened. They're not about this moment, or this moment, or this moment. They're about the past. They're about judgments and assessments of the past. It's a pretty dark way to live, I think. But what we know is that right here and now, right here and right now, we can bring light to our own darkness, by simply beginning to tell the truth, the divine truth about who and what we are. Who and what we are. You know, I titled this talk, Looking for the Light in All the Right Places. And how often do we look for it in all the wrong places? Places that have nothing to do with our own authority, our own responsibility. How often are we looking to find our inspiration, our guidance from a sign out there, a symbol out there? Not that our own intuition does not bring stuff and information to us, because it absolutely does. But here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's what I'm going to tell you today. It's not that CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News do not broadcast the divine truth about who and what you are. Their stock and trade is fear, right? So the broadcast I want to invite you to listen to is that voice within, which is always broadcasting, and it's always calling. The voice tells us, as Ernest Holmes wrote, to come into the awareness of universal intelligence. It's the present, the light within each of us, to which we may come, to which we become aware, and it will guide and it will inspire us, because it is the love that overshadows. It is bigger than everything, bigger than all of us, bigger than all of our opinions and our judgments and our perception of our failures or our successes. It's bigger than all of that. You know, I think that so much of life seems like and feels like it's all about trying to find yourself or find your purpose. Like, who am I supposed to be? And where's my meaning in this life? And it's with that idea of the search for self and purpose out here that I think we outsource our good. We start looking for love and light in all the wrong places. We are outsourcing our good. We are outsourcing our happiness. We outsource our peace of mind, our security, and our beliefs. And truly, you know, it's just so much easier to take on somebody else's beliefs and opinions, because clearly they've thought them through, you know, so I'll just co-opt them and I'm just going to put them right in here, you know, and I'm good. But the thing is, every time we do that, we also outsource our sense of worthiness. We outsource our sense of worthiness. And that's crazy. It's actually an adolescent trait. It's what 8th grade teenage boys do, you know? Teenagers do that. We still have it within us, right? And I believe that we are in a place globally where the actual world is at a place, at least in this country, we are adolescents. We are at that place of being defensive. We're in a place of being insecure. We're in a place of trying to grab everything from out here We're in a place of outsourcing our worthiness. We're looking for somebody else to make us feel okay. See, when we believe the ads that say we're too fat, we're too skinny, we're too old or too young, or in any way not good enough, our insecure teenager gets triggered. And it says, oh yeah, that must be the problem. That must be it. And we think that there's not enough. And that somebody else, also known, by the way, as the other, is crouched and waiting to take our jobs, our money, our loved ones, our homes, our neighborhoods, and our status. And boy, does that inner teenager get triggered. It's triggered with that idea, man. Somebody else is going to take mine. It's a belief in not enough. It's a belief in God isn't the source of all life. That God isn't fully abundant, infinitely abundant. And it's a belief that we are not part of it. That we don't live and move and have our being in God. And God does not live and move and have its being in us. Those beliefs are not the truth of who and what we are. There's a psychological model that's called the drama triangle. You may or may not have heard about it. But I want to tell you about it because I think it's fascinating. And I think most of us live our lives according to that model. So here's what it looks like. You got a triangle. And on one side of the triangle, you have victim. You have the victim. In other words, it's a person who lives according to the idea that someone is trying to hurt him or her or take away their well-being, which means that their well-being is outsourced, so that they're believing that they're going to be subject to somebody else's actions. They're going to be a victim. So then we have the other side of the triangle. Because if we have a victim, you got to have a villain, right? If somebody's going to hurt you, you have to have someone who's doing the hurting. So we have the villain who's lurking in the shadows, just waiting for the chance to take away your stuff or your well-being. So now, when you believe in a victim and a villain setup, and often we call that villain person or that idea the other, as in the guy who looks different from you and me or comes from another country. When we believe in that, there's a solution that appears on that drama triangle. And that's the third side. It's the hero. It's the hero. And this is where the big outsourcing comes along. And so this is how it works. The villain hurts the victim, and now the hero steps in to make it all better. And this is how we outsource taking responsibility for our lives and our thinking. It's also how we surrender our power and we block our love, our creativity, and our peace. If any one of us at any time is hoping, wishing, oh God, please, please, please save me, rescue me, make it not so, make it different. If at any time we're doing that, we have outsourced our responsibility, our accountability, our authority, and our own lives. We have outsourced our well-being. We have outsourced our divine identity. And if we think we're going to be transformed by something or someone out there, we're living in the drama triangle. Woo-hoo, let's party down. Now, politicians love this model, by the way, playing upon our deep fears, our insecurities, by casting some other, the other as the potential villain waiting in the wings, while all the time supplying the hero, who alone can be the one who has the answers and the solution, and who can rescue and save us. It's how elections are won. It's how cosmetics are sold. It's how diet products are marketed. And it's how you and I are seduced into turning away from our divine magnificence, our divine light. But when we look at that, when we look for that same light in all the right places, the drama triangle no longer informs our lives. We are no longer subject to that. We are no longer subject to that. When we look for the light in ourselves, the drama triangle no longer limits us. It's as if we have rotated off that wheel, if you will. We are no longer being contextualized by that idea of being victimized or needing to be rescued or saved. When we bring our light into any place or situation where we think it might be missing, we become the light itself. We are the anointed. We anoint that situation. We anoint that person. We anoint that relationship simply by our willingness to think about love. How simple that is. How clear that is. You know, at night, the sun doesn't actually go down and set. In fact, it never, ever stops shining. It's always light. It's always light in the sky. But the earth turns away from it. Literally, the earth turns away, rotates away from it, and moves into darkness. So you and I are not bound by anyone else's fears, judgments, beliefs, or limits. We truly are not. You and I all are already beings of pure light. And you know, in this month, we've been celebrating, the light. And we still have a few things coming up. We have our Christmas Eve candle lighting service. We'll have our burning bowl service in which we burn and truly, really release, let go of, and burn and dissolve those ideas and things which we are no longer willing to be constricted by. Whatever those things are, relationship, job, whatever, stories them all, whatever. And one of the things I've noticed, I was thinking about this week, if the only time that you ever went to a New Thought church was during the holidays, you might just think that we're all a bunch of pyromaniacs. Because we just love to burn stuff. We love to burn our stuff, we really do. We have candles everywhere, and the metaphor here is really, really good. So I want to invite you to make a decision today, or redecide, or recommit to turn within to your own light, your own inner light. Look for your own light, and then bring it to the world. Bring it to the world around you. There's another Course in Miracles lesson that reads, there is nothing that your holiness cannot do, because the power of God lies in it. I think that's amazing. There is nothing your holiness cannot do. There's nothing my holiness cannot do. I think we should say that together right now. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. So let's say it one more time with con gusto. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. There's nothing it cannot cannot do, because the power of God lies within it. So I just want to close a little bit with these words from a friend of mine who's a rabbi. And he wrote when he was discussing the menorah, he said that the tallest candle in the menorah is called the Shema. It's the one that lights all the other candles with its own light, the Shema. So be the Shema. Go light the world. Be the Shema. Go light your world. And so it is. So it is. All right. Let's turn our attention inward for just a moment and know that right here, where we are, God's Spirit, divine intelligence, is expressing through each and every one of us equally as perfect light beings. We are the Shema. And we take that seriously as we celebrate our own light, our own divinity, and by our actions and by our thoughts, take that out into the world, making a difference. We are the people at the right time, in the right place, to do this. And we celebrate our choice to be here now. I know that we bless all of those close to us, our family and friends. We send our prayer out to be a healing place of love. We bless our church. We bless all churches everywhere. Synagogues, temples, mosques, ashrams, all paths to God. We bless them all because we know that God's the only place to go. Many paths, but one destination. And so it is indeed with a grateful heart that I release this word and send it forth. Together we say, and so it is.